Welcome to the SimSkies podcast, the podcast all about Flight Simulator. And now, introducing our host, who can fly a fake airplane with a little bit of confidence, Lexterio.
This is SimSkies, one of the very few podcasts that's all about flight simulation. And if you listened to the last episode, it was all about Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. I'm happy to report that most of the technical issues have been solved. And in fact, they actually released a small patch recently, which a lot of people were surprised of the size of the patch. Most games nowadays, including simulation titles, require normally pretty large downloads. I wouldn't say large, I guess that's not the right word. At least somewhat of a download, right? And in this case, it was a very small file because most of Flight Sim 2024 is in the clouds, in the cloud. And so it allows Microsoft and Asobo, the team there, to really streamline the process of fixes and patches for this incredible title. Well, this episode is going to be about the add-on situation that we currently are in with Flight Sim 2024. Now, if you remember, way back when, before the release of 2024, it was said that the most of the current third-party add-ons will work with Flight Sim 2024 without much of an issue, without many tweaks at least, from the developers. And here we are now. We're about 2.5 weeks since the release of 2024. And really, in terms of the airliners, there's really only one major airliner that's currently available on the market for Flight Sim 2024. That is a third-party airliner, and that would be the Phoenix. All three Phoenix variants are available and currently operational by the developers over at Phoenix. Now, they did have the recent release an update to make it work, but it is working. We do know that the team over at iFly is working on the IMAX. We do know that the team over at PMDG is working on the 737. So the airliners are making progress. We know that AnyBuilds is working on the 306. We do know that the team at Flight Sim Studios, who produced the E-Jet and the 727, said that their products are currently compatible with 2020, in that they are working on a 2024 version that will be released sometime next year. Sometime next year. So clearly what Asobo, what Microsoft was stating was somewhat true, because I'm happy to report that, so here, let me backtrack just a little bit. Before 2024 launched, I went into my community folder. I have many aircrafts, I have many sceneries, and I removed the majority of the sceneries. My goal in 2024 was to streamline my system so that I don't have as many third-party add-ons within that community folder. So I went ahead and removed all the sceneries. I went ahead and removed most of the aircrafts. The ones I bought, tried for a couple days, tried for a couple weeks, and then just never touched again. And that left me with the bare bone minimum stuff. Well, here we are in 2024. As we got to experiment it more and more, we found out that certain things do work without any issues. And the most of that would be sceneries. Surprisingly, the thing I thought was going to be the biggest issue when it came to add-ons became one of the least issues with Flight Sim 2024, and that's sceneries. And there are a couple out there that do cause conflicts, and there are many developers who said they will be working to ensure their sceneries updated to 2024. But for the ones I've tried, and I've tried maybe 20 plus, major US airports, a couple international airports, they've worked really, really well. Now, there are a couple, unique issues, one of which it's kind of funny is it spawns trees in certain areas along the taxiways. Not on the taxiways, but in the grass that's next to the taxiways, next to the runway. Those trees definitely are not there in real life. So I'm not quite sure why it does that, but it does do that. And outside of that, that's really been the only issue I've had. I for sure thought elevation issue, the new mapping terrain issue would be hindering most of the scenery titles out there. But surprisingly, it does not. And a lot of I would say majority, I'm going to use the word majority of the FlightSim.to scenery work without many issues either. So that's quite surprising. Now, there are some issues for sure. Asobo, Microsoft, they went ahead and they suspended third-party titles from auto-loading within 2024. It was causing some issues with the sim not launching, issues of the sim crashing. So they went ahead and they disabled that because there are going to be some problem children out there when it comes to the sceneries. But surprisingly, scenery is no problem. Now, there are some issues with utilities. For example, I use a tool for the pushback from Aerosoft, and that just does not work. Does not work whatsoever. But there is a tool called Pushback Helper that uses SimConnect, connects kind of on the outside of the sim, and it doesn't have any problems. So here's to those developers, such as Aerosoft, hoping to get those titles updated so they do work. Would you know that the team over at Parallel 42 is working on Flow and working on other add-ons that they have that they said right away likely would not work in 2024. But, they're working on it. Some which would require additional payment for an upgrade fee, others not. The biggest issue today with Flight Sim 2024 is that a lot of the aircrafts just do not operate. And going further back, the issue is that Asobo, Microsoft, continue to tweak things behind the scenes that causes conflicts when these developers are making adjustments to their airplanes. So I know we heard that the team over, I don't remember which team it was actually, but one of the teams said that as they were working on making sure their plane is compatible with 2024, every dev alpha version they got, a new version of it, broke something else that they thought would be fixed. So here we are now at 2024 launched. Everyone has access to it. And it seems like whenever Asobo tries to fix something, they break something else, and that causes more issues. So the big, airliners at least, PMDG, Phoenix, iFly now, they're all going to eventually have full compatible 2024 versions. And I believe all three of them, maybe the exception of the iFly, will require an upgrade fee. But PMDG said that they will have a compatible version of 2024 for their planes, and then they'll have one that takes advantage of some of the features of 2024. So, I guess we're kind of in that situation where we were with 2020. Not so much this, add-ons itself, but we're kind of in a limbo with what you see is what you get within the sim, and things will follow along the way. So I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping sooner than later, we'll have access to some of those incredible aircrafts and sceneries and add-ons that are available in 2020 as they make their way over to 2024. Thanks for listening to this episode. We'll see you in the next podcast. Take care.